When I unlocked the bakery door that morning, the air smelled of vanilla, sugar, and the quiet hope I'd pieced together from nothing. I'd pictured laughter warming the room, the gentle clatter of coffee cups, my family's faces lit by the string of lights I'd hung just hours before. But by noon, the ribbons on the chairs were still perfectly tied, and the only breath in the room was my own. No one had come. Not my mother, not Rosie, not even Dad, who'd once smiled over a slice of my lemon loaf and said, "No one bakes like you." They were all at Rosie's corporate luncheon instead. The funny part? I'd even created a raspberry velvet cake in her honor. I didn't shed a tear. I flipped the sign to "closed," wiped down a spotless counter, and stood there in the hum of my own solitude. Then my phone lit up. A text from Dad. "We need to talk about the bakery." I didn't answer. I just watched the screen until the words swam. That's when something in me settled, cold and clear. I was done waiting for a seat, at a table I'd set myself. For years, I saw Rosie as the star, the golden girl who never missed a step. She'd toss me one of her sugary smiles and say, "You're amazing, you know that," as though amazement was something you handed out like spare change. She got the accolades, the spotlight, the approving nods. I got her old sweaters and second-hand dreams. But I stayed soft. I baked her favorite pastries on her birthday, helped edit her cover letters, even covered the cost of a team-building trip she swore she needed. That trip, I later learned, helped secure the down payment on her glossy new car. And that's when my eyes began to open. Mom and Dad calling her their success story, my calls going unanswered. Rosie quietly posting my recipes on her company's gourmet blog, under her own name. I didn't say a word. I just watched, and I waited. The first real glimpse behind her perfect curtain came during Sunday dinner. "We're organizing a huge gala," she announced. "Might even have a city council member there." Dad beamed. "That's my Rosie." Then he glanced at me almost gently. "You ought to ask your sister for tips on getting noticed. She knows how these things work." I smiled back. He was right. I had learned something from her. I'd learned how to stay quiet while others underestimated you. When Rosie scheduled her promotion party, at the exact hour of my bakery's opening, it wasn't a mistake. She was making them choose. And they did. But what she didn't know was that while they raised glasses in her honor, I was gathering proof. Every invoice I'd ever sent her for catering, every transfer, every email where she'd used my bakery's name to secure clients for her own venture. I bundled it all together clean and sharp, like a knife tucked in a linen napkin, and sent it straight to the executive board of her company. Then I waited. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was Rosie, her voice thin and shaking. You turned me in?" I kept my tone even. "I didn't turn you in. I clarified the truth. Do you understand what you've done?" "I think you do," I replied. She hung up soon after. By the next morning, word came down she'd been suspended, misappropriation of funds, falsified business documentation. The family group chat buzzed like a trapped hornet. "Mom, what's going on? Dad, we need to talk." And then his message again. "We need to discuss the bakery." I told him to come. He arrived as the sun was dipping, casting long gold shadows across the floor, the same light that once made this place feel sacred. Now it just felt revealing. He looked weary and irritated. "Why didn't you tell us about all of this? We could have helped." "You knew," I said, sliding one of my cream-colored invitations across the counter. "You just had a prior engagement." He picked it up, and for a second, I saw it the flicker of shame. Then it hardened. "What did you do to your sister?" I set a warm loaf of sourdough between us. only what she prepared for herself. He didn't like that. Fathers never do when their favorite's shine begins to tarnish. Family doesn't do this to family, he said, voice low. I held his gaze. Then maybe family shouldn't have done it to me first. The quiet that followed was thick enough to slice. He let his eyes travel over the clean lines of the shop, the local awards near the register, the quiet evidence of a life built without his approval. Finally, he spoke the line that told me everything. She's learned her lesson. You've proved your point. I smiled, soft and certain. Oh, Dad, this was never about proving a point. It's about no longer accepting a supporting role. When he left, the bell above the door chimed lightly, just as it had on that first lonely morning. I stood behind the counter, watching evening settle over the city. Somewhere, Rosie was clearing out her office. Mom was spinning excuses. Dad was wrestling with a problem he couldn't solve. And me? I was weighing flour for the morning's bake. Steady, focused, unbound. Revenge isn't rage, it's rhythm. It's the still, certain knowledge that those who looked past you now have to stop and see you. And as the oven timer chimed clean, clear, complete, it hit me. He hadn't come to talk about the bakery, he'd come to put it back in its place.